am the warchief. For Doomhammer!
What is up, people of the internet? It's your favorite theory crafter, Skizzors here, bringing you another episode of Nexus by the Numbers, presented by StormLegacy.com. Today we're going to be going over Thrall, a melee assassin who was just recently reworked and is an absolute beast. So without further ado, let's get right into him. Let's start off with Thrall's basic attack, where you hit things with a hammer. And your attacks per second is 0.91, which is a little slower than your 1.00 attacks per second, so a little under 1 attack per second, but those attacks do get ramped up with the casting of one of your basic abilities, and we'll be going over that next. Thrall's trait is Frostwolf Resilience. Dealing damage with abilities grants 1 stack of Frostwolf Resilience. At 5 stacks, Thrall is instantly healed for X health. That scales per level. And right down over here to the left, you can see the number of charges. I was doing some tests earlier, that's why it says 2 of 5, but usually start with none of them. You can check your number of stacks here, and each diamond will light up for 1. And when all 4 of them are lit up, your 5th one will reset this back to 0, and it'll go on from there, and you'll get your heal after 5 charges. Thrall's first basic ability is Chain Lightning. Mana cost is 45, cooldown 7 seconds. Shock an enemy with lightning, dealing X damage. The lightning then bounces 3 times to nearby enemies, dealing X damage to each enemy hit. So first thing to note is your initial target is going to receive a lot more damage than the bouncing targets. So when targeting an enemy that you want to have the most damage on up front, to make sure that your Q is landing on the enemy. So this is what it looks like. Just a little lightning zap. Let's turn on short cooldowns with those toggle cooldowns. A little lightning zap. I'm using a skin right now, so it looks a little different, but than if you were using default Thrall. But it's pretty straightforward, has a pretty decent range. This is about all the range you'll ever need for how the new version of Thrall plays, and we'll get into that in a little bit. And you can see my Frostwolf Resilience stacks are stacking, and when I hit this last one, the little wolf kind of pops out red, and we're back at 0 stacks. Next is Thrall's W, Feral Spirit. Mana cost 60, cooldown 12 seconds. Unleash a Feral Spirit that deals X damage to enemies in its path and roots heroes hit for 1 second. Each hero hit increases the distance traveled by 25%. So it's just the line, target, skill shot. It doesn't move super fast, but you throw this wolf and he runs and leaves paw prints or whatever, and it's scary. But the root is very important, as if you are in a team fight, or if you're trying to just do pokes at people, if at max range or just about max range here, you'll see the wolf will go a little bit further. Just, it's not too much, but instead of ending here, the wolf goes out here. So if I miss, the wolf ends right there. So that'd be right about there, you know, as far as differences. So you gain just a little bit. So just the 25% as stated. So if you have some distance between you and the enemy hero, and this enemy has enemies behind him, you can hit him, then the wolf will hit the enemy, then it'll keep going and keep going until it runs out of enemies to hit. The next basic ability is Wind Fury. Mana cost is 60, cooldown 12 seconds. Increase Thrall's movement by 30% for 4 seconds. His next 3 basic attacks occur 100% faster and generate stacks of Frostwolf Resilience. So I'm going to bring up the attacks per second here, and when I cast Wind Fury, you will see that the attacks per second go up to 1.82, so you get a large increase in attack speed, which is very useful for Thrall. So now we're going to be getting into Thrall's talents, and at level 1 I always choose Echo of the Elements. It's my go-to. The secondary choice, though I do feel is a little bit of a trap talent, can be Crash Lightning, and that is a repeatable quest. Hitting at least 2 heroes with a single use of Chain Lightning increases the damage of its bounces by 10 up to 400, and the reward is after hitting multiple heroes 20 times. Chain Lightning prioritizes bouncing the heroes. So the reason I think Crash Lightning is a little bit of a trap talent is, one, it's not super easy to make this happen unless you're always fighting heroes that are clumped, and 2, that Echo of the Elements gives you a lot more sustain, and Thrall's biggest issue is, since he goes in the team fights really heavily, and he does not have a very high health pool. You can see at level 20 he's got just under 4,000, so not a very high health pool. He really requires self-sustain to continue to be fighting and keep up in fights. So Crash Lightning gives you more damage initially up front in burst, but in the long run you can't stay in fights as long as if you get Echo of the Elements. So Echo of the Elements is a quest talent, and the quest is kill minions or heroes within 1.5 seconds of hitting them with Chain Lightning. The first reward is after killing 10 enemies, reduce the mana cost of Chain Lightning from 45 to 25, and the secondary reward is after killing 20 enemy heroes, gain a second charge of Chain Lightning. So I'm going to be bringing up a clip here on screen, and it's just showing some basics on how to start stacking Chain Lightning initially when you're starting the game. This quest should be done way before you hit level 10. The main thing to note about Echo of the Elements is you're wanting to cast your Chain Lightning on a target that is already pretty weak to either kill it with Chain Lightning or be able to follow it up with one auto attack and or a Feral Spirit Wolf Throw with your W, allowing you to get that quest reward. And it's not that hard of a quest to complete as long as you kind of prioritize it in the early phases of the game. You should be able to at least get to 10 enemies killed to reduce the mana cost of Chain Lightning, which is all the mana you will need reduced off this ability, as it really helps Thrall's mana pool, and going into the later phases of the game you'll have plenty of mana to do whatever you need to do. The other thing to note about Echo of the Elements is when you hit your second quest reward, and that is after killing 20 enemies gain an additional charge of Chain Lightning. Remember, Frostwolf Resilience gets stack procs, dealing damage with abilities grants 1 stack of frost resistance. So with Chain Lightning you're hitting a target and then the lightning's bouncing to multiple other targets, which is stacking Frostwolf Resilience, giving you more heals faster. Now, you're going to be able to keep that sustain going much longer than if you had grabbed Crash Lightning, where you only have one cast of it. So grabbing Echo of the Elements not only helps your mana pool, but it also helps you deal more damage over longer teamfight durations, and it allows you to have better self-sustain in fights. So next on the list is level 4 talents, and I always go Frostwolf Pack, and I'll tell you why I go Frostwolf Pack over Mana Tide right now. So Frostwolf Pack is a quest talent. Hit 7 heroes with Feral Spirit, progress is lost on death, and when Thrall fails to hit a hero. The reward for this is reduce the cooldown and mana cost of Feral Spirit by 50%. So, big question I get when I'm going over Thrall with somebody in a private coaching lesson is, after I hit the 7 stacks, the 7 heroes, and I get that 7 stack and I complete the quest, if I miss a wolf, do I lose it all? The answer is no. Once you hit 7 heroes, you no longer have to worry about losing your progression on the quest on death or if you miss one. So when you're picking Frostwolf Pack, if you have 0 stacks you can use it to clear waves, and if you have it completed you can use it to clear waves. Now obviously you're trying to complete it, and you want to try to complete it pre-10 as well as your first quest, so you're really focusing on poking with Feral Spirit rather than poking with Chain Lightning, and you're saving Chain Lightning for minions to try to kind of edge your way to be prepared for late game. So in comparing Frostwolf Pack and Mana Tide, Mana Tide reduces your basic ability cooldowns by 0.5 seconds every time Frostwolf Resilience is procced. So taking that into consideration, I went with a 12-second team fight counter with Feral Spirit and did an average of 2 wolves per hit, which is pretty common. If you are hitting 1, both give you the same result as far as that. So I just went with 2 per hit with having Frostwolf Pack completed and using Mana Tide. And with Frostwolf Pack at level 4 and Echo of the Elements at level 1, you end up ahead of Mana Tide as far as the Frostwolf stacks resilience goes by about 3 stacks typically, with the same heal. So in the 12-second period, going Mana Tide or Frostwolf Pack won't necessarily give you an additional heal, but if the team fight goes over 12 seconds and you're able to cast maybe another Chain Lightning, you have a better chance of proccing Frostwolf Resilience because you're already 3 stacks into it versus not having 3 stacks going Mana Tide. So Frostwolf Pack is just a little more streamlined and optimal as far as getting your Frostwolf Resilience stacks, keeping you alive more, and having a root every 6 seconds is very, very strong. It helps with chase, helps you with disengage, and overall I feel like this is a better talent pick. Now, with that said, if you are having a lot of trouble finishing this quest pre-level 10, or you are afraid you're going to miss a lot of wolves in general, going Mana Tide is not going to reduce your output on Thrall by that much. Remember, it's 3 stacks, so you might miss out on 1 heal over a long team fight, maybe 2 heals over a long team fight, but in the grand scheme of things, going Mana Tide isn't going to drastically reduce your performance on Thrall. And I actually recommend going Mana Tide initially when you're first picking up Thrall, because you're going to have to get used to landing Feral Spirits, and until you feel comfortable with doing that, Frostwolf Pack isn't going to get you anywhere. If you can't land the 7 hits with Frostwolf Pack as your quest to level 4, it's like you didn't choose a level 4 talent to begin with. So once you're comfortable and you're feeling good about landing your Feral Spirits on enemy heroes, Frostwolf Pack will give you a better streamlined performance with Thrall over Mana Tide. So level 7 is a talent tier that is being debated quite a bit since Thrall's rework, and that's between Maelstrom Weapon, which is what I pick, and Follow Through. Now the question between the two is what provides Thrall the most damage, and I can say with full confidence that Maelstrom Weapon definitely gives you more damage in the long run over Follow Through, and it's very doable to get that damage output. So with Follow Through, and on screen I'm going to be showing an example of just kind of landing a quote-unquote perfect Follow Through. Now I use my ulti at the end, that's just to keep the crit damage stack, but as far as the basic abilities go, that's what I want you to focus on more or less. So Follow Through is after using an ability, your next basic attack within 6 seconds deals 40% additional damage. So it's very strong, and you can get a lot of damage out of Follow Through. But what I found is that Maelstrom Weapon provides you quite a lot of damage, and also the utility it provides, in my opinion, adds way more than what just straight damage can get you. So Maelstrom Weapon is a quest talent, and the repeatable quest part of it is basic attacks against heroes while Wind Fury's movement speed bonus is active, increases attack damage by 1. So think of it kind of like Seasoned Marksman versus heroes specifically. The first reward is after gaining 20 attack damage, so 20 auto attacks. While Wind Fury is up, increase the movement speed bonus of Wind Fury to 40%. This gives you an insane escape, an insane chase, and allows you to keep pressure up, and makes hitting your Feral Spirits combined with Frostwolf Pack at level 4 very easy. You're able to keep chase up on a hero almost indefinitely between Frostwolf Pack and Maelstrom Weapon. The second tier reward that you get is after gaining 40 attack damage, Thrall permanently gains 15% increased movement speed. So not only are you super fast during your casting and the bonus movement speed of your Wind Fury, but you also have increased movement speed out of Wind Fury, so you're always going to be able to keep up on heroes or have a better chance of escaping if that is what you need the bonus speed for. So it's hard to measure pure attack damage when you're getting utility rewards, but the big thing for me is the way Maelstrom Weapon actually stacks its attack damage. So, and combined with the level 16 talent that we'll talk about when we get there, Maelstrom Weapon is applied after reductions. So just remember that the Maelstrom Weapon's attack bonus is applied after reductions. So with the utility bonuses and the damage you can typically get out of Maelstrom Weapon, I personally think it's the best choice at level 7. It's really not that hard to stack. I have some clips that have been running that will show you stacking for Maelstrom Weapon. Is pretty straightforward. You just don't want to put yourself in a horrible position for them, but you can definitely get up there in damage. The highest I've gotten so far in a match is 120 stacks, and that is quite significant when you can combo it very fast and very efficiently with some other talents later on. The other thing to note, and what I want you guys to think about when choosing your level 7 talent, or thinking about your build ahead of time anyway if you're in a drafting situation, is whether or not your comp is early or late game focused. So most games that I play typically reach anywhere from level 18 to 20 plus. So a lot of games that I've been playing recently since this patch came out are more late game oriented games where Maelstrom Weapon really shines because you have time to get the stacks in order to make it very useful. If your team is really early game based, so meaning you can hit 16 at the end of your last team fight, or maybe use 16 to secure a game, but you're basically looking at a faster pushing comp, something to just kind of dish out damage really quickly and establish a very large lead and finish the game very quickly, then follow through is going to be better than Maelstrom Weapon, where follow through provides you a lot of upfront damage but does not provide you utility that is very important as the game goes on and cannot scale nearly as well as Maelstrom Weapon can. So remember, if you're looking at an early game team comp situation, then follow through is definitely going to be your go-to at 7. But if you're looking for a late game oriented situation, Maelstrom Weapon will always be a better option, as it does end up giving you better damage results overall, and it also provides you utility bonuses that follow through can't give you. So at level 10, you have a choice between 2 heroics, both very viable depending on the situation you're in. So the first heroic talent is Sundering, mana cost 70, cooldown 70 seconds. After 0.5 seconds, sunder the earth in a long line, dealing X damage and shoving enemies to the side, stunning them for 1 second. So Sundering's pretty cool. I'm going to be showing some clips of Sundering here in a second, but first I'm going to just show you kind of what the line looks like. So it is a very large line target stun. So in comparison to your Feral Spirit, which is the smaller line, your Sundering ultimate is much larger. So you have a much more forgiving radius to hit enemies within that. And so with the clips being shown, it's just some uses of Sundering. It's a very strong ulti used primarily, in my opinion, for between this and Earthquake, used for the damage you get, and the stun is always very good and is very nice for canceling abilities out of range and stuff of that nature. So Sundering's very strong and always a great ulti pick. The second ultimate choice is Earthquake. Mana cost is 90, cooldown is 100 seconds, and after 0.5 seconds summon a massive earthquake that pulses every 4 seconds. Each pulse lasts 2 seconds, slowing all enemies in the area by 50%. Deals X damage to enemy heroes, does 3 pulses. So the big thing to note with this is Earthquake's pulse damage that it deals procs Frostwolf Resilience. So if you hit 5 heroes with Earthquake's pulse, that means you get 1 heal off of Frostwolf Resilience, because that'd be 5 charges, and 5 out of 5 gives you the heal. So in noting that, I typically end up going Earthquake because it provides much greater sustain than Sundering does in team fights. However, Sundering is a much better option if you are really needing extra damage on your team, if the stun will really impact the game. So in trying to decide if Sundering or Earthquake is better, it really depends on the game. Like I said, I typically pick Earthquake because it gives you a much better sustain, as when you dive into enemy teams and you drop Earthquake, you're going to be hitting multiple heroes with that, and each time an enemy is damaged within Earthquake, that's going to grant you more Frostwolf Resilience stacks, allowing you to combo it more into your basic abilities, giving you much better self-sustain and really big heals over a long team fight. You can keep yourself alive for a long time with Earthquake. Additionally, Earthquake slows all enemies in the area by 50%, so that innately is going to help your team engage a lot smarter, a lot better, and be able to keep lockdown pressure constantly happening within this large area that Earthquake provides. And in addition, here you're going to be seeing some clips with Earthquake, kind of showing the great uses in team fight situations where it can be very strong, and just initiating in general with it is very helpful. So the next talent choice is at 13, and it's pretty straightforward, so there's not too much to go over here. I typically go Grace of Air, which allows your Wind Fury attacks to grant twice as many stacks of Frostwolf Resilience, and that combos just into level 16 talent and is very good with that. And because Wind Fury is your almost your bread and butter skill, so to speak, you're going to be gaining a lot more value out of Grace of Air. Alternatively, you can pick Frostwolf's Grace, which is a cooldown of 15 seconds, and it allows your trait Frostwolf Resilience to be activated to instantly heal you for 150% of its normal amount. So in one of the clips, I'll show it again here, it was during the follow through example. I do pop Frostwolf's Grace to kind of show how you can get extra procs of follow through. Frostwolf's Grace is a great talent in general to be picking. It does not, however, give you as much heals as Grace of Air will give you. So this just comes down to determining how many stacks you can get from Frostwolf's Resilience to allow you to sustain in longer team fights. And Grace of Air ends up giving you more Frostwolf Resilience stacks than Frostwolf's Grace can, also allowing for better heals over a duration of a team fight. So that's why I picked Grace of Air. But like I said, you don't lose too much off of picking Frostwolf's Grace. So at 16, I always go Tempest Fury, and that is the final strike of Wind Fury hits 3 times for 75% of normal damage. So at 20, you do 362 damage per auto attack, and the 75% of normal damage is 271. So how Tempest Fury works is pretty straightforward. So instead of attacking straightforward, you can see the 362, you'll do 2 regular basic attacks with Wind Fury, and then 3 attacks that are 75% of it. So right now, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So you can see how the stacks happen right there. So Tempest Fury gives you just the most damage output at 16, and as you saw, it does combo into Maelstrom Weapon very well with the 3 strikes you get at the end, all proccing Maelstrom Weapon stacks. So it's a very easy way to get your stacks up, gaining more attack damage, and being able to output even more damage afterwards. Before I finish up level 16's talent tree, going over Tempest Fury, and you can see me using it in multiple clips throughout all these different team fights and stuff. I'll probably throw one up on screen here. And the last thing I want to go over about your level 16 talent pick being Tempest Fury is that initially when I talked about how Maelstrom Weapon can combo very well into your level 16 talent pick, this is what I meant by it. So follow through will proc your very first Wind Fury hit, and then the subsequent 4 hits that you do are just regular basic attacks. So your first one gets your 40%, and then it's just all basic attacks that are regular after that. Tempest Fury, however, and this is the way that Maelstrom Weapon stacks, and this is what I was talking about to remember earlier. So when talking about Maelstrom Weapon, I said that the damage is applied after reductions. So what I mean by that is that with the reduction of Tempest Fury, making your last 3 attacks 75% of the normal damage, it is first reduced 75, then added to whatever your stack number is. So for example, it's the easiest one to do is 100 stacks, okay? So you have 100 stacks of Maelstrom Weapon. That means that Tempest Fury, we'll just say it's a flat number too, like we're not going to increase it just for easy math. So your basic attack damage is 362. So your basic attack would be 462, because remember that's the example we're going with 100 stacks. So from 362 it'll go to 462, and then the subsequent one would be 463 because of the initial bonus attack you get, the 1 extra bonus attack. And then your 3 attacks would take that 463, you would reduce it by 75%, okay? And then you would add the 100 attack bonus. So it doesn't add and then take the reduction. It always adds a flat damage amount on top of the attacks period. So why I like Maelstrom Weapon so much is the utility obviously is great, but with follow through, yes, it does proc off of your other abilities, and yes, you can chain them all very easily into Wind Fury, but Maelstrom Weapon is going to proc so well with 5 attacks that you're getting. So if you were at 100 stacks as the example, you would be gaining 500 damage over your 5 attacks of Tempest Fury. Now this is how fast Tempest Fury is, right? So I'm just going to pop Wind Fury. So that would have been 500 damage increase right then, flat out. And that's a lot of damage. That's a lot of burst damage that you get out of Wind Fury. And that doesn't even include being able to use Feral Spirit and also Chain Lightning to do even more damage. And since you're going to have 2 instances of Chain Lightning that you're going to be able to do, you're dealing, like at level 20, we'll just use that for the example here, you're dealing just under 400 damage. So you're doing 390 times 2, then 335 for 1 instance, then whatever your Wind Fury damage is going to be, plus 5 instances of whatever your Wind Fury, or excuse me, whatever your Maelstrom Weapon number is, whether that's 50, that's 250 damage, 100 stacks, 500 damage, whatever, 5 instances of whatever the number is of the bonus attack, and then whatever your ultimate choice is in damage additionally. So the great part about Maelstrom Weapon is with every one of those 5 hits, you're also increasing the damage that your next Wind Fury is going to do. And that leads us to our level 20 pick. So at level 20, I do not recommend any other level 20 ability but Wind Rush. Alright, so Wind Rush is the new Bolt of the Storm, or your blink, that you can get 70-second cooldown. Activate to immediately teleport to a target area location and gain Wind Fury. So you can see while Maelstrom Weapon combos so well into the rest of your kit late game. So when you pick up Wind Rush, your combo is now, if you would like to do it in this order, you can blink in. So this is the radius of your blink, and this is your location. It's the same, just about the same size as your hitbox there, so you can kind of see how you're blinking. So you have this range. You can blink into a target, get all hits of Wind Fury. Now remember that the Wind Fury that you gain is your talented Wind Fury. So that's going to include Maelstrom Weapons quest bonus, that's going to include Grace of Air, and that's going to include Tempest Fury. So you're doing massive damage off of Wind Rush, and then you'll still be able to proc Wind Fury alone and deal the damage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to toggle off cooldowns. The other option is if you were to engage front into an enemy, you would be able to blink on top of that. And I'm going to be showing some clips here in a moment, but first I want to show you guys how it works just on the training dummy. So if you were to engage flat out onto an enemy, maybe your initiation is with your stacks complete. So I'm going to complete this. It's going to send it up to 1,000 damage. This isn't like realistic to get to 1,000. Usually, like I said, you'll get 120 has been my highest, but just so you can see that. So your initiation would be the movement speed bonus perk you're going to get from popping this, which is a 40% movement speed perk. So I'm going to go in, activating Wind Fury first, I'm going to stun, or root, excuse me, with Feral Spirit, and just wail on him with Wind Fury, and then blink afterwards with Wind Rush behind the target for body block potential and more casts of Wind Fury. This is kind of how it would go. Where you'd come in, you'd stun, hit the target, blink behind him, be hitting more Wind Fury hits, and continue the pressure that way. Now obviously that was with 1,000 extra bonus damage, so the health and the damage is very, very skewed, but that's the combination. Now I'm going to be showing some clips while I continue to kind of go over the power of Wind Rush. So with Wind Rush, and you can see in this first clip, it's a very chaotic team fight, and you're just very focused on what I'm doing on Thrall. I start off the team fight by initiating into Mathael using my basic ability Wind Fury attack, killing him off very quickly, then using my Wind Rush to blink to the enemy Thrall. This is a QM game. As you can see, I was playing with one of the players I coach and just kind of going over some basic stuff with him. And so you can see how I blinked over to Thrall and finished off him with my Wind Fury attack, and still having the speed boost, bounce over to Ariel, and then continued the pain train that is Thrall at level 20 with help from a few of the members of my team. So Wind Rush really provides you so much damage and utility for a power spike. It is actually just absurd how much it helps you out. So Thrall's power spikes occur basically at level 16 and 20 are your huge ones. So you gain a small power spike when you finish your first quest talent, you finish another power spike when you finish your level 4 quest. Finishing your 20 attack damage and your 40 attack damage with Maelstrom Weapon also helps increase your power spike potential. But then once you hit 16 with Tempest Fury, you're outputting a lot of damage, and then once you get to 20 for Wind Rush, it is very hard to pin you down, it's very hard to kill you, you're very mobile, thanks to the fact that Wind Rush is a blink, and also thanks to the fact that Maelstrom Weapon provides you with a lot of movement speed perks. It's very hard to pin you down as a hero. It provides a lot of mobility for Thrall. Otherwise, you wouldn't really have that kind of mobility not going this build, and it just gives you a very large damage output, and that's very important for Thrall in general. Be able to constantly be dealing damage in order to also be proccing your Frostwolf resilience with all the damage you're going to be able to do. It's going to give you a lot of self-sustain, and then if you have a healer in your team comp, there's very little ways to stop a Thrall that has been playing well all game and that has very high stacks. That since Wind Rush procs a talented version of Wind Fury, that you're going to be getting that extra 5 instances bonus damage of Maelstrom Weapon twice. So now whatever your Maelstrom Weapon bonus is, you're getting 10 instances of that. So guys, that's going to be it for this in-depth look into the brand new Thrall of the Mathael patch. I hope you guys really enjoyed this guide. I hope it was helpful for you. And as always, if you enjoyed the guide, if you have any suggestions or comments, or anything in general that you'd like to either discuss with me or with somebody from Storm Legacy. If you're on the Storm Legacy channel, please feel free to comment down in the comment section below, or contact me on Twitter at Skizzors, Skizzurs. It is in the description. Or you can come visit me at my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Skizzors. And be sure to always be checking out Storm Legacy at stormlegacy.com, and on their Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Storm Legacy as well. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for me today. This has been Nexus by the Numbers, an in-depth look into Thrall. I hope you guys all enjoyed the guide. This has once again been your favorite Theory Crafter, Skizzors here, and we'll see you next time.
For the Horde!